Hi everyone, and welcome to the YouTube hop for Joanne Bartell's 1000 subscribers celebration. I decided to do a scrap lift of one of Joanne's layouts, and the layout on the left is the one I chose and the layout on the right is mine. And now I'm going to show you how I went about making it. So I used the Hip Kit Club kits from March and April to do this layout. I have combined those two kits because they're both very pretty spring colours. There's a little bit of Easter in there, but not a lot. So there's lots of lovely flowers and rainbows and, as I said, beautiful pastel colours. So I've decided to go with that. And the photo that I'm scrapbooking is two 3x4 photos from a weekend away scrapbooking with some girlfriends. We, on a semi-regular basis, meet in Christchurch to have a weekend of scrapbooking, and this started following the first COVID lockdown in New Zealand. There's nothing like a lockdown to make you truly appreciate a weekend away with the girls. So we absolutely love these weekends, and this is a photo from that. So to do the background, I've cut strips of paper. So the green is at the top with a smaller strip of approximately 1 inch at the bottom. So the strip at the top, I would say, is about 5 inches. Yep. And then the strip at the bottom 1 inch. And then I cut a strip of this pretty pastel check, which I would say is about 4 inches. And then the middle bit where I actually pulled out one of my old fancy edge punches, which I haven't used in ages. So the polka dot, and it's actually a navy blue polka dot, but it sort of looks black. And I would think that that was about 3 inches. So that gives you the approximate measurements if you wanted to also scrap lift this layout. So this is a tag I cut from a pattern paper in the collection, but you could use any tag. I'm just backing the photo now. So it's two 3x4s, so it makes a 4x6 together. I am matting it with two different colours. So the first one is sort of a deep peachy colour, like quite a deep peach colour, and then I decided to back the next layer as a pale blue, and I have left a ripped edge on mine, which is different to Joanne's layout, but I really do like ripped edges, and that tag just tucks up in underneath the photo. Now I'm going to use this floral daisy paper to fussy cut out some leaves and some flowers. So I'm just selecting which ones, and I roughly cut those out of the paper first, and then I neatly fussy cut all of the flowers. So I just fast forwarded through that because you don't need to see me fussy cutting. So I have fussy cut leaves and I have fussy cut those daisies. And now I have pulled out a few different embellishments that I could use. So I had a couple of these tickets which I cut out of pattern paper, and I'm just fussy cutting those. Now they were awesome for this layout because one says weekend gathering and the other says hanging out with friends. So I just had to use them because they're perfect. And then in the kits was this little pocket, and I thought that was a great place to put another tag and put my journaling on. Now I used the weekend gathering, hanging out with friends tags as one of the large elements that Joanne had on the left of her photos, and then I used the pocket with the tag as the other element. So I think Joanne had a pocket and a large shaker pocket, and so I have substituted those elements whilst keeping with the general feel of Joanne's layout. And so now I'm selecting a heap of little floral and word embellishments because Joanne had clusters of flowers on the left and right, and she had numerous little phrase stickers stuck in there as well. So I'm just going through and finding those sorts of elements that I could include. And I found a little bow that I could stick on the tag, that green tag that's under the photos. And I'm just working my way through the bags of embellishments. There's lots of embellishments that come with these kits. So I've just been working through the bags of those and seeing what else I could find and hunting through bits and pieces on my desk. That's a little rainbow with flowers, which is super cute. So yeah, just finding all these elements. And now I'm going to start sticking it down. Of course, you end up pulling it apart, and looking back at the video, I didn't quite like what I ended up with as much as what I had first thrown down on the page. But hey, that's what happens when you like to pre-plan everything and then you've got to pull it apart and put it back together. I decided when I was sticking down the tag that it could really do with another tag there. So I found a yellow one that was in one of the embellishment packs, and I put that there, and the title is This Is So Good, which was a die cut as well. And now I'm just building up the flowers on this side. Not that I'm unhappy with how this layout ended up. I really do like it, but I particularly liked my flower cluster on the left-hand side when I first put it together, and it didn't go quite together the same when I stuck it all down. But as I said, not necessarily unhappy with it. So just pulling the pocket now and just putting glue right around the edge of it so that my tag will still slide into it. And now I'm going to build up that flower cluster. What I've done is just use some white double-sided foam tape, and so some of the elements I have stuck flat and some of the elements I have popped up a little bit. This layout is quite flat when it's finished. The foam tape that I've used is thin, and so it just gives a little bit of dimension to this layout. So it's not completely flat, but it is certainly not a really dimensional layout. So just popping up the flowers. So the leaves were stuck flat. These flowers have got a little bit of foam tape under them just to give that bit of dimension. And I was going to stick that cluster of flowers flat, but I decided to put the tag flat and put a little bit of foam under this cluster of flowers. Just stick that up. Just jiggle it all around a bit. Now the tag that I've just stuck down there, the weekend gathering one, it didn't have a bottom on it because it was at the bottom of the pattern paper. So by placing the Loving This die cut, I can actually cover up the fact that it's only half a ticket. But now I've got a big gap, which wasn't there when I put this down at the start, but I'm just going to fill it up with flowers, which works perfectly because flowers always work perfectly. So I'm just hunting down various ones I've got, and that's a little cluster. Now, I do think the trick with clusters is to make sure you keep everything together and tight, and not to have gaps and spaces in between it. So you can see that I filled up all the gaps. The flowers are overlapping the pocket, so they're integrating the pocket into that cluster. And it holds it together. So my preference is to have all the elements touching each other because I do think that it keeps the layout together. So I'm just checking everything now to see whether the composition is working, where I need to put something else. And I've just pulled out another pack of embellishments. I have a super cute little floral camera there, which I'm going to stick on. Again, it's overlapping between the flowers and the pocket. And now I have just some little bits that I'm finding on my desk as I sort of pile up the die cuts that I'm not using. And then I found some little puffy flowers that came in the kit, so I thought I'd stick a few of those on because Joanne had a few sequins around, and I'm not going to use sequins, but I will use these little puffy flowers. And then I'm looking. Oh yeah, found another phrase, and it says little joys. So I'm going to stick that on the space on the tag, since I've got plenty of room for my journaling on the tag that's tucked into the pocket. And I am now going to pull out some 49 Market stitched washi tape. I love this stuff. When I am too lazy to sew, it is just so perfect. I decided to go with a bit of black because I felt that the layout could really handle some black. I thought about a third row, but I'm really glad that I didn't put that in. And it really does look like stitching. The washi tape blends into the background pattern paper. It looks like I got my sewing machine out and did some stitching, but I just didn't feel like the hassle of pulling it out. I'm now adding my journaling on the tag, and then that gets tucked into the pocket. I'm just talking about how we started these weekends away after the COVID lockdown, and we meet at a batch, which in New Zealand is a weekend holiday house, which is actually in front of our one of my friends' places. So, yeah, it's a fantastic weekend away and we absolutely love it. So I'm just tying a little bit of twine onto the tags because when I looked at it, I couldn't leave them empty. I find that if I tie my bows upside down, which is why I'm turning the layout, the bow will generally, not always, but generally sit better. I had a bit of problems with this bow. It just didn't want to tie, but got there eventually. And I believe this layout is now done. I think. Yes, just checking it out. Yes, so here's the layout again next to Joanne's that I scrap lifted. And here's some detail shots so you can get some close-ups of this layout. Thanks, Joanne, for having me as part of your YouTube hop for your 1,000 subscribers, and a big congratulations. If you like this video, please press like, and if you're not already a subscriber, I'd love it if you join me. Thank you so much, and hopefully I will see you again soon.